Welcome to the channel, guys. I'm Coine, and after 400 levels of fishing, I'll be going over some tips I have for you as well as some general thoughts on the trade skill. First of all, and maybe for some of you this might be the only thing you need out of this video, but I would say to check out newworldfishingguide.com. I'll leave the link in the description. It is the most helpful resource if you want to learn a little bit more in-depth information about fishing. Is it really needed if you want to be successful with fishing? Absolutely not. A lot of fishing is just things that you intuit and naturally learn as you do it. Personally, the only thing I really used the guide for is the hotspot unlock order, which I'm showing here on the screen. You can just input your fishing level and check out which hotspots you can go to in the game. There's really no wrong way to fish, but here are some tips that might be helpful, whether to make fishing up legendaries a bit easier or to maximize your time spent per level. So let's get into it. Tip number 1. You'll profit most by running from hotspot to hotspot since you have a much higher percentage chance of catching higher tier fish. I personally exclusively fish at hotspots out of habit, and the fact that you get bites almost instantly, especially if you use baits, it's just about instant. Waiting for a bite in plain water can take up to about 15 seconds without bait, maybe up to 25 if it's shallow water, and I just don't want to wait that long to hook a fish. Tip number 2, according to the fishing guide, your best bet for XP per hour is from a 2-star rare fishing area, even if the hotspot is out of fish, so you're just fishing in the plain water. I didn't crunch the numbers myself, but the person that wrote the guide did, and it seems to add up just fine. So if you want to get to level 200, the absolute quickest way that you can, fish at a 2-star spot with a bait. Tip number 3, bait doesn't really matter. You can fish exclusively without it, and I would say I use bait maybe like 20% of the time. This is mostly because hotspots get bites fairly quickly without bait, like around 5 seconds, and when I'm fishing for hours on end, I don't really want to lug around a bunch of bait or even buy it. Bait should be cheap on most servers, but I honestly just never bothered. Whatever bait I happen to collect or salvage from clams, snails, or whatever else gives bait is just what I used whenever I did use it. But if you do want to use bait, just stick with firefly bait for freshwater and glowworm bait for saltwater. Those will be your best bets. As of right now anyway, maybe in the future Amazon will update the game and make the other baits a little bit more helpful. Tip number 4, do the fishing quest line all the way through to the end. If you don't have the vengeful fishing gear, you'll get decent enough gear through the quests. Fishing gear isn't really necessary, nor is speccing into focus, but it certainly doesn't hurt, and the perks you can get on that fishing gear it's helpful to catch a better fish. And that increases your overall profit for the time that you're spending. The biggest reason though for doing the fishing quest line is to get the legendary fishing pole at the end. You'll want to get to level 100 fishing, or you'll need to get to level 100 fishing to complete the last part and get the pole, but you can do all of the other quests starting from whatever level you're currently at, so level 1 if you're at level 1. Tip number 5, there's an animation of the fish fighting, and a lot of people will generally say to dictate your reeling based on the water splashing animation. That's when the fish is fighting back, it's struggling. I personally don't think it's necessary. The easiest way to fish is to simply reel until your tension gets to orange with the red blip, then stop reeling until your tension is almost fully recovered but not quite all the way. Watching the animation just adds unnecessary extra attention to something that ultimately doesn't need to be watched. If you're reeling and stopping the way that I just mentioned, the fish will stop fighting every now and then. You'll notice that based on how quickly your tension goes away or how long you can pull your line, allowing you to reel them in a lot more than you normally would when they're fighting back. The time frame between pulling and stopping shouldn't be adjusted to the fish fighting back because you'll always get the benefits of the fish tiring out anyway. And you can kind of see how I do it in the video. It's not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but I've never had an issue fishing, and I've heard that people do have trouble fishing up legendaries and stuff like that. I've never had an issue with it. So doing it the way that I do it, I would say it's just about a guarantee that you'll catch every fish that you try to. Tip number 6, fishing should be easy and relaxing. Reduce any cognitive burden by watching a TV series, a movie, YouTube, etc. With multiple monitors, it's hard to watch your attention and watch a show at the same time. So I use something called OnTop Replica, which I'll link in the description. It's basically a desktop app where you can position it directly over the game, so you can use your peripheral vision to watch the color of the attention while being able to enjoy whatever it is you're watching. This is what helped me get both of my characters to level 200 fishing the most, because it really increased my enjoyment of it and kind of just put fishing on autopilot. If you do want me to make a video about OnTop Replica, let me know in the comments. I'll definitely post a video if you want one. It's helpful for grinding in general as well, not just fishing. For instance, I like to do things like harvest nodes or grind weapon mastery while watching something through the app. Multiple monitors is normally fine for these, so it might not be as helpful to you, but it's amazing for fishing. Tip number 7, the farther you cast, the easier the tension should be. Do this especially if you're fishing in plain water and not a hotspot. I've tried fishing in many different hotspots by standing far back and casting the entire length of my line, but I haven't noticed any difference when it comes to hotspots and distance. Plain water, do it. In hotspots, just stand wherever you want and whatever makes it easiest for you to land the bobber in there. Tip number 8, if you're not fishing purely for quick XP in a 2-star spot, map out the route where you can run from hotspot to hotspot. This will be dependent on your fishing level, so I can't really give you recommendations, but I will say that I did the majority of my fishing in Weaver's Fen, where there's a lot of hotspots and it's easy to run to each one after you deplete the previous hotspot. No mountains to jump over, no cliffs to climb, things like that. You just auto run to wherever you need to go next. You'll also get a lot of tadpoles in Weaver's Fen, which are pretty great to sell because they're part of the town board project, so they're always selling. I consistently sold tadpoles for 14 to 20 coin each on both of the servers I'm on, but at the time I'm releasing this video, the market seems to have crashed slightly, so they're selling more for around 6 to 12 coin each. It'll be different on every server, of course. So those are essentially all of the most important tips that I have. I could go on and on about the little stuff, but you don't really need to know much else. Fishing is easy, it's just time consuming. At least it's more fun to do than logging. If this video helped you or you just enjoyed it for what it is, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more from me, and also check out some of the other videos I have up so far. This is a new channel, so every little bit of likes and subscriptions helps a lot, and I truly appreciate it. Even a single like. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and until next time, this has been Coine.